because I knew well in advance that all of those people who had
to lock me in, so I was locked in like 7 months in advance. But then I didn't feel like the time was.
So if you're, some people say book 12 months in advance. Well, a lot can happen.
You cannot tell that in advance. So that makes it harder for the company.
It's in advance. Whenever you can get tickets in advance, it really is worth your trouble. Any good guidebook would.
Now, in advance of the dedication, I get a long list of things
as possible in advance of STAR testing. Common Core
and plan your route in advance. Do any of you remember having that experience?
That's about prevention, keeping people well in advance, because diabetes, for
you think far in advance. You think beyond the present.
Cocktail party that he would pick a color in advance and he would only talk to people.
So I have to set up systems and rules in advance so that I don't have to be on.
We have the absolute responsibility to think this thing through in advance, to figure out what our response.
And therefore, developing flexible technology now in advance of these missions is crucial.
They think about things, they can actually think in advance about things, they probably have a sense of self.
Now, in advance of this event, we received several hundred questions.
In advance of a disaster, because they figure the MRIs are going
to... always be thinking in advance that way, because things are not going to go as reliable.
And when we put this out there, we talked about it maybe a week in advance, that we're going to have a Q&A live.
To book the acts 2 years in advance. And then as soon as we open one show, we start the real production work.
You don't know the answer in advance, even though journalists want you to.
So I apologize in advance if you hear things a second time, but it's for the mass.
That the genocide was not planned long in advance. It was a contingent reaction.
Restaurants in San Francisco months in advance, and we had this beautiful.
Think of interesting things, topics to discuss in advance. Look,
part in advance to hear. I want to just share a few stories with you today. I want to introduce a few of my friends to you.
So look, I'm going to apologize in advance. This isn't my day job. But I will.
Sitting there 3D printing shelters in advance of a community coming, and you've got your homes.
So thank you in advance for your permission to use your image, and I'm sure your penetrating question.
But if you decide in advance, then this thing will.
Of kind of what they've already done, either in advance of us or alongside us.
See us, and they have sent in advance a few questions they wanted to ask.
So yeah, it's months in advance. Every proposal is an actual.
Advance.
A year in advance.
And my prediction was different than.
And clearly provide in advance who will own those works. It's a mistake to rely.
Absolutely. And we can't know in advance. So if the future has been laid out.
So I just want to kind of share that with you in advance. I want to start off,
Though neither of them could know in advance how that day would live in our history.
Believe me, we work with these zoos months in advance to make sure that we're working.